This is coffee number 5. I'm your host, Lara. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to coffee number 5. I'm so happy that today we're here, and because you know what, it's all about building community and it's who you know, and how to create those relationships and go to those places that you meet the right people. And today we have a guest that it was one of the right people that I keep meeting in different places. And one day we got to sit down and talk. And you feel like you have a lot in common. But it was more interesting to me that welcome Tara Wilson, by the way. It's so
Hello, thank you for having
here.
me.
It's like, Tara, you build community. You specialize in building events and experiences that brings community together.
Yeah. So how fitting that we were able to connect and you are doing the same thing here with your podcast and really you do that for your clients as well. But yes, I own an experiential marketing agency and we create experiences for sportswear and beauty brands to get their product in the hands of their consumers. And we know this new young Gen Z, Gen Alpha consumer as well as the millennial consumer as well. It is all about community for them, you know?
Yeah, and it's all
And
about experiences. I mean,
right.
as we record this podcast, we are in August 2024. And I was having this conversation that this month is a little slow, being the end of the summer. And one of my thoughts here is that people are buying into experiences at this time of the year and not so
Right.
much into luxury products.
That's right. You're absolutely right. The summer is when, it's so hard to catch anyone in the office. It's a very fragmented time. And absolutely, as a consumer, you are out, you are experiencing life probably now more than any other point during the year. This being the year of the Olympics, we've seen so many experiences pop up and that community building. I was just noticing today on LinkedIn, there was a post. Bumble did a coffee shop takeover in Paris, France, with a small coffee shop, again, to build community.
And it's about being approachable. I think that in the past, the brands were like, we are the big brand.
That's right.
We're untouchable. Right now, it's about being approachable as the brand. You can find us in small prices and you can connect with us.
Consumers demand that they have a one-way connection to brands now more than ever before. The consumer wants to be able to talk to the brand. They want to know they're heard by the brand. They want to be able to communicate. Gen Z in particular has grown up in a time and space where everything is within their reach. Customization is table stakes for Gen Z. And so it is about that community, about having that conversation and that connection and knowing that their voice is heard. And then I would say the third thing that we're seeing about community, especially with this newer consumer, younger consumer, is that they're tying their values to who they support. And how they support is with their dollars or going to these experiences. But it's all about, do you as a brand espouse my values? And if so, I'm going to share my vote of confidence by spending my money on your product.
But at the same time, it's very interesting because we were in an event together also,
right.
one of those, that the data show us that the consumer is starting to care more about performance of the product.
That's true. Absolutely. It's no longer lip service or saying that it does something and then it doesn't actually perform. It's no longer about just cute packaging. It really has to be, it has to deliver beyond that. And yes, performance-driven brands are really starting to thrive.
Let's start about how we build community. And when we're talking about community, it's that you cannot go only one channel. You need to go omni-channel. Like I would
Mm-hmm.
never, I was telling the story today also that I was approached to with a new by a new brand that they want me to create this big event, but the brand wasn't set up in their marketing yet to create an event as
Mm-hmm.
part of their marketing strategy. And honestly, I said no,
Mm-hmm.
because I know that we will fail. And
Yeah.
if you don't have your ducks on the road, you cannot do these experimental experiences
Mm-hmm.
because they don't have
That's
anywhere to land.
well, and we guide our clients because around this topic I'm about to share. Brands, savvy brands, know and understand when they come to us that creating experiences is a top of the funnel activity. It's
Mhm.
about brand awareness first and foremost. We get very nervous when a brand comes to us and says, we want to have this particular experience. And we talk about, okay, what does success look like? What are we measuring? And it's sales, sales, sales. Well, okay, that's not where we need to be. This is a top of the funnel activity. So um, we really have to counsel and coach, especially emerging brands who are looking at that. So yes, when you get approached about let's do an event, well, if the entire marketing funnel isn't covered, um, you might potentially be setting yourself up to not succeed for that client. So smart on you that you kind of push back there.
Well, I'm old. What can I say? I've seen it all. But this is what I want to say. So what can a small brand or a young brand expect from creating an experience?
Yeah, I think it's no different from a big brand and what you can expect. What you're going for is that consumer connection. You're looking to put them, like I mentioned, in the top of your funnel, start to build a relationship with them. So be thinking about how are you going to bring them into your ecosystem and then how are you going to nurture them? If you don't have a nurture system in place, um, you just spent dollars that really don't
Yeah.
long-term benefit you. Um, then you want to think strategically about how you're seeding the individuals that are at the experience, especially if you're a small brand. Maybe you can't just blow it out of the water and, have 500 people in a space over the course of 3 days or whatever. I mean, that can get expensive. So, how can you have the biggest impact in the moment that you have with the people that you have? So, you want to seed them with product, but then it's like, what's that digital extension that you're looking for? Being clear, being upfront, asking specifically is all important. But how are they talking about your brand once they've walked away from your event? You certainly want them talking about your brand while they're at your event,
No, you want an
showing.
experience that is exciting enough for people to be talking
Mhm.
about.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you get creative in what you do. And one of the things that's really popular right now are these like uh, brand brand trips, so you get 25 influencers, 20 influencers, and you take them away to camp, but the camp is totally branded like your brand. You could do something like that on a smaller scale if you're a startup. You could do something like that. It's being thoughtful, it's being scrappy. And there's nothing wrong with being scrappy, You
Oh,
may not be able to hire an agency to help you be scrappy,
yeah.
but you can certainly look to what are bigger brands doing. So, okay, we'll give an example. I
Yeah.
mentioned the coffee shop takeover in Paris, France at the Olympics. All right, how can you as a small brand flip that on its head and you do it? Well, I personally did it this spring at the women's Final Four in Cleveland. I have a secondary brand called Fierce Lab, and we did a coffee shop takeover. And having coffee conversations is a part of the ethos of the Fierce Lab brand. So we took over a small coffee shop in Cleveland for one morning for 3 hours. We bought everyone's coffee. We gave everybody a coffee sleeve when they came in, and the requirement was to follow us on social. Okay. Now we notice, all right, people are following and then they're getting their coffee, and we're seeing some unfollows. So what did I do? I made sure that I went through the line, and as I met everyone, I told them, I said, hi, I'm Tara Wilson. I'm the founder of Fierce Lab. I'm the one that's buying your coffee today. And that changed everything. And it gets back to that personal connection. People want to know the brand, they want to know you, they want to feel connected. And then that changed the whole game.
Yeah. How many
And
followers
so
you got?
about 250 roughly. We did see some attrition, so warning to anybody that
Yeah.
does something like that, you will have some attrition. The other warning I would make on that is, we were pushing them to follow us on social. Well, we don't own that relationship.
Yeah.
Um, but in the moment, pushing them to download and activate our app didn't feel like the right timing. So to get somebody a coffee
Yeah.
that takes a minute and a
Oh,
half to
but
make.
it's about brand awareness. It's
There
about
you go.
it's creating people knowing about the brand and then see you in other places and say, oh, I've seen that. I met that founder. I know
Mm-hmm.
their story.
That's
And
right.
and then you can follow, okay, the people that they follow me in Instagram, you can retarget them also in other
That's right.
ways. So
That's true.
there at this time and age, there is a lot of things that we can do
Hmm.
that we
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
so
And
Nor
through that digital extension piece, to your point, there are so many opportunities out there for brands, and it's pretty inexpensive these days.
absolutely. So let me ask you a question. When you prepare having an event, either for a big brand, for a small brand, are you part of the rest of the omni-channel or the digital experience that is going to follow the event, or you
We
just
can be. We can be. It really depends on what the relationship is with the new brand and the other teammates that they have. The other vendors on their team that are supporting whether it be a go-to-market strategy or their overall marketing strategy. So it really depends. But yes, our team is equipped to be able to do those things and provide that strategic guidance. Um, and really look at, all right, this is one experience, but how does this layer into so many other things that we're
and
doing?
how do you measure these experiences?
Yeah. So again, it gets back to starting with knowing that you're not measuring sales. So first and foremost, like how many eyeballs are getting on your brand. And it's not just like the people that walk into the experience, but we're looking at when we started promoting the event and how much reach that had. And then we're factoring in how did that convert from you saw it, you found out about the event, to you explored it, to then you actually registered. And let's be honest, all experiential events, if they're open to the public, are free. Well, if people don't have skin in the game, they're less likely to show up. So there's a huge attrition between who registers and who shows up. So we're measuring that, and we're always thinking about ways that we can stay in touch, encourage, motivate even to show up. So, are we going to have an athlete on site? And is that athlete going to be doing signings? Is there an exclusive product drop that you can only get at this experience? Things to motivate individuals to stay committed
Mm-hmm.
to the fact that they are SVP.
Yeah.
So then they're on
But there
site.
is
So
what is something really interesting about this is that also you have a whole new job before pre-event, which is not setting up the event, is letting people know that this event is happening.
that's right. Hmm. Yes, absolutely. So you do want to get strategic who you partner with, the channels you push it out on, how are you getting visibility? People can't buy from you if they don't know you. Now, I know I've just said experiential events are not for sales, but they're buying into coming to your event. And if they
Yes.
don't know you, they can't do that.
Well, they're buying in a different way. They're buying in time.
That's right.
Time is valuable. So someone who chooses to come and have this experience and then tag you or send a video or show the product,
Mhm.
it's valuable. It has a different value. I always say that this is like marketing is like a billboard.
Mhm.
You don't know how many people passing the billboard and if how many from those are gonna buy,
That's
but
right.
it's part of the brand awareness.
That's right. And you can't just choose one channel. You've
No.
you've got to be looking at all channels. So experiential is just a component of all the other channels. It's certainly effective. It works. when it goes viral, it's even more effective.
Of
We see
course.
we
And
see
so
that.
I have another two questions. First of all,
Sure.
that you integrate the PR part into this, you bring to the events PR is part of your packages or how you plan the events, or that's something completely different that you expect the PR team to take over?
In most cases, we are working alongside a PR agency for our clients' activations. If they don't have a PR agency and we know that this is important and specifically the goals around it, we can provide that. But it is not, public relations is not our core, it's not one of our core offerings.
I see. And another thing is what I've seen a lot of brands trying to rush into these ideas and
Mm,
rush the
hmm
events. And
hmm Meaning doing them too early in their growth cycle,
well, I'm
or
meaning both things.
coming up with the idea in 1 week and 2 weeks later trying to implement.
Also, both of them actually. To rush it when is the right time for a brand to have an event? And also how much lead time you need to have to plan an event and execute right.
Hmm. Both loaded questions. And so let's start with how much lead time you need. I think you definitely need 4 weeks. We've certainly executed things in less time.
Mhm.
Um, Certainly puts a strain on everyone. But when consumers are not thinking beyond 4 weeks in their life, they're not committing to something. So you may be planning 6, 8, 12 weeks, but opening up registration, pushing out content, making people aware that this is happening, you want to be looking at 4 weeks out. Within 30 days, you should start to see that people are committing. Um, Larger activations, let's be honest. I mean, we're already working on things for CES, the Consumer Electronics Show, which
Ah,
happens in January. We're already having conversations about Super Bowl, which will be in
but
February.
also
So
in those cases, also a lot of the budgets because there's a lot of budgeting in planning that comes
what's
from the
going on
beginning of
right
the
now?
year or
Hmm.
like from the year before. And you
That's
work
right.
with those budgets, and so many things can change even this year's inflation that now you need to work maybe with a budget that it was planned before the inflation.
That's right. Absolutely. So, you certainly want to know that these things are on your horizon so you have the dollars allocated. But when you're talking about the true logistics of planning, in general, 6 to 8 weeks start the planning process. But the larger the experience, the more popular the experience, which I'm going to talk to in just a second, the more important it is to put this on your horizon now. So then you were asking about um, a brand activating and where they should activate and why they should activate. We really believe that it's best for a brand, especially if you're a new brand, to plug in to cultural moments that are already happening versus I'm just going to create my own pop-up experience and if I build it, they will come. And so, plugging into things like Super Bowl, South by Southwest, CES, and so people are saying, well, I don't have the budget to be there. You don't have to be there in an official capacity. That's something that, I'll give a tip to a startup brand. When I referred to our Fierce Lab coffee shop takeover at the Women's Final Four, we were not an official partner of the Women's Final Four. We weren't, connected to the NCAA experience that was happening at the convention center.
Mhm.
However, we were capitalizing on a moment where our audience, young collegiate women, were going to be congregating in a particular city. So do think about that. You're a beauty brand. Maybe you are not, maybe you don't have the budget for, say, popping up at BeautyCon. If that's on the docket this September. So think about ways that you could still capitalize on a large audience that's going to be at the convention center. Um, but maybe, and you certainly have to think about some restrictions and things like that. You don't want to get kicked out of anywhere. But
Of
how can
course.
you capitalize on those moments where there's already a large body of people
So,
coming together and they're your audience?
so for a small brand, what would you recommend? Just to approach someone in the bar and say, "Hey, can I do this here?"
You mean like if I wanted to do like a takeover in a
Yeah, like
bar or
in a
coffee
coffee
shop?
shops.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll use the coffee shop example. So we found a really cool coffee shop in Cleveland. It's owned by Machine Gun Kelly. It's popular with young women, again, our target audience. And we reached out and we said, we're interested in buying coffee for a couple of hours. And we'd like to do maybe a panel discussion. And so we started just sharing what we want. Yes, we paid a rental fee to be able to use their space. We guaranteed a certain dollar amount that we would pay for over the course of what turned out to be 4 hours that we were there. So a certain amount of spend. Um, but many places are very interested in those kinds of partnerships and collaborations. And so they promoted our event as well.
Something
Another thing,
really important that you need to do when you are planning these events is having clear that this is a geo-target experience. So you
Mhm,
need to make sure that your target audience will be in those spaces.
that's
You
right.
would use in my brand, for example. My brand is also for certain age people. So if
Hmm.
I will about to create an event like that, I need to make sure that this is a place that it will people certain age feel comfortable, that is not too far from them. Also because there is a radius, there is traffic, and you need to make attractive that event for your target audience.
That's absolutely right. You're going to where they already are, you know.
Exactly.
Go to where your consumer already is. Make it easy on them because if you're asking them to travel to you, it's going to cut down on the entire group of people that will experience your brand, you know.
Absolutely. But also when you're geo-targeting these events, you need to focus on that people in that place that might be a little different than when you generalize all your brand. So you
That's
need to
yes.
understand who they are, and also when you promote it in the right places so they find you.
So we call that being hyper local. That's a term that comes from doing activations for Nike. And, it's a focus on let's be hyper local, let's create hyper local experiences for our consumers. So everything from the swag is geared to them, their language, vernacular, color palette, age group. It's all about making that consumer in that moment, in that geo-targeted area, as you say, feel like, hey, I'm seen by this brand. They get me.
Exactly. It doesn't feel like
Mhm.
it means that the event that you're gonna do tomorrow are gonna be the same.
That's right. Hmm.
So this is
Yeah.
really important for young brands when you creating your uh, swag bags, or you creating those products or booklets that you
Hmm.
can customize it and change it depends of where you are.
Hmm. That's right. Yep. You want it to feel authentic to the moment, the time, and the group,
Yeah,
for
because
sure.
I mean, a lot of younger brands, they don't have the manpower to manufacture things for each one of the events. But what you can do is to mix and match and always put something that will make it unique to that event
Hmm.
and connected with the time. Like if it's a winter event, I don't know, what are you gonna put an element that is winter, put a scarf, I don't know. Uh,
Right.
but but you cannot put a sun lotion or sunglasses.
Right. Right. You don't want them to feel like you went through your overstock inventory from 6 months ago and put it in the swag bag. You do want
Exactly.
them to, and that's another thing, if you are seeding through your swag bag moments, you want the product to be current. Yeah, and you want it to be your product. I see a lot of brands, they're like, um, they they're so interested in giving a lot of things away that they're like stuffing a bag full of everybody else's stuff. We're just doing free advertising for them. Unless it's a strategic partnership, you should recognize that there is value in what you're putting together. I'll give you another example. Um, we are launching a college tour this fall for our brand, Fierce Lab. And we're going to 4 different colleges in the fall, and then we have 7 different colleges in the spring.
Okay.
There is a lot of value in the work that we put in to get on college campuses. It's very difficult to get access to college students in that kind of way. And we've done all that work for brands. So, as a brand, all you have to do, relatively speaking, is stroke a check
Hmm.
and show up. Now, yes, we're going to coach you through how to activate, how to connect with the students, and those sorts of things. But as on the other side of the equation, as the brand of Fierce Lab, I recognize the value that we're bringing to the table because of all the back end work that we've done. So my point about just to have stuff in a swag bag, you're devaluing the work as a small brand that you may have done, just because you want to put some things in a swag bag. So just be cautious about that, and be mindful that even if you're a young brand, you have something that others want, and
Yeah.
um,
And
and it should
something
come at a
that,
price.
yeah, and something that I always think that these events are great is not only to create relationships, also to create funnels that you try to keep interacting, do a giveaway with the people that they were there,
Mm-hmm.
but they need to keep uh, following you. Is they follow and they unfollow you in the moment, it's very easy. But someone who follow you and then you start giving them a few days to get announced a giveaway or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They say, "Oh, okay, their content is not bad. Oh, they have some interesting stuff. So I'll keep following them."
Mm-hmm.
I see
Mm-hmm.
less rate of unfollows there.
Yeah.
You sign up by
Keeping
email.
Yeah, keeping your consumer engaged. That's where the nurturing part comes into play. And our CMO talks about a trust funnel. She doesn't call it, a sales
Mhm.
funnel. She calls it a trust funnel.
I like that.
And yeah, and Dolores is great. She thinks in those terms. And again, I should delineate just in case I'm confusing any of your listeners. So Tara Wilson Agency is an experiential agency that creates events for beauty and sportswear brands. We've worked with Nike, we've worked with ESPN, we've worked with Hibbett, we've worked with Minilux, so on and so forth. But my agency, Tara Wilson Agency, has created a brand called Fierce Lab, which is a women's empowerment platform. And we speak to entry to mid-level career women. We create community, which is so much of what I love about you inviting me on to talk about community.
Uh-huh.
Um, and we do live events. And like I said, we're launching a college tour. And so when I talk about the Fierce Lab brand, it's my own brand, so I get being a small startup and how do you get
Well,
scrappy
but
and
I
do
think you know
grassroots
why it
and
makes us
guerrilla.
better marketers. I always say that having the
Yes.
experience of having to work with my uh, own brand, and I seen things
Mhm.
that I never seen through my client's eyes, and I was
Yeah.
like, "This is amazing! I feel a much better marketer. I have a lot more insights now, and I
Yeah.
can help a lot more from the early stages even."
Yes. Well, and we're finding that so many of our big brand clients on the agency side, they're very interested in what the startup brands are doing. And they want that scrappy entrepreneurial mindset brought to their activations and their marketing efforts. And so, I always tell people Fierce Lab feeds the agency, and the agency feeds Fierce Lab.
Yeah,
And
that,
and at the end of the day, we're
I gonna take that from you. I like that
okay.
because yeah, it's a
Yeah.
two-way street with this. With
Hmm.
it's a learning experience and it's amazing. So going back to community, you
Hmm.
work a lot with younger generations.
Hmm.
How they differentiate with the older generations, or can you create events that it will be good for everyone? Everyone is gonna go happy, or you see that they have very clear different interests
Yeah.
in their
Yeah.
explorational.
Sure. Sure. I mean, like I mentioned, Gen Z customization is table stakes for them. What I'm seeing when we're creating experiences, we're bringing multi generations together. It goes back to creating community. The younger generation want a space to be able to talk to those that are older about their experiences. How did you do this? What advice would you have? Where could you point me to learn more about this or help me navigate such a issue that I'm dealing with? They want spaces to hold those kinds of conversations. And those of us that are a little older, Gen Xers,
Yeah.
we are at the point where we're ready. Like we feel confident that we've had enough life experience that we can contribute and we can share. Um,
That we made enough mistakes.
That's right. That's absolutely it. And so creating a communal space where those kind of conversations can happen and not just the conversations, but the space in which you can network and navigate and build relationships with individuals that are from different generations. I think at the end of the day, we're seeing that's what everyone wants, whether you're older or whether you're younger.
That's great. Well, Tara, thank
Mhm.
you so much for being here and to be so sharing, because I know
Mm.
that this information will be valuable for a lot of entrepreneurs and any business out there.
Yes, well, thank you for having me. And I love the opportunity to talk about community and what that looks like and to be able to thread the needle for people that it's community that we build on the agency side and it's community that we build on the Fierce Lab side as well. So
And
thank you for hosting me.
as you can see, we're two agencies owners here, and it's
Yes,
not about competition,
competition.
it's about collaboration.
That's what I loved when meeting you from the onset. You know, you were very clear with me, you know, like if I can help you in any kind of way, I'm an expert in this particular area and I would be glad to support you. And I mean, you know, like that as an entrepreneur is something I think we all crave, that understanding and that feeling that we're not alone. And yeah, I think we
Even
go further by collaborating.
even if we need to vent about
Yes,
something,
yes,
that
yeah.
someone can understand it.
Whole podcast just on being an entrepreneur. Let me know when you're ready for that. Bring
Oh,
four of us on. Could you imagine? That'd be like a entrepreneurship red table talk. You know, it'd
oh
be
my God,
wild.
that will be a never-ending podcast.
Exactly, exactly. Let me know when you set it up. I don't have the time to set it up. If you set it up, I'm in. You count me in.
Well, well, I need to find some time
Because
for
I was going to say, because you have all this free time too, right?
exactly. And you guys, well, thank you, Tara, again for being with us and having
Thank you
coffee
for having
today.
me.
And to you guys, see you next week with more coffee number 5.
Bye, guys.
Find everything you need at larashmoisman.com or in the episode notes right below. Don't forget to subscribe. It was so good to have you here today. See you next time. Catch you on the flip side. Ciao, ciao.